Reserve time. 10 seconds remaining.
Razor.
Alliance's turn to pick. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time.
Gyrocopter!
Team Liquid's turn to pick. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time.
Phantom Lancer.
Alliance's turn to pick. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time.
Night Stalker.
Team Liquid's turn to ban. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time. Alliance's turn to ban. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time. Liquid's turn to pick. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time.
Witch Doctor!
Alliance's turn to pick. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining.
Behold the horn of Magnus.
Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Prepare for battle.
I'm actually wondering, Blitz, if there's any point sharing our thoughts. Obviously, Sir Action Slacks knows it all.
How is it that we have like 17 people here, and Sir Action Slacks is like the most knowledgeable person that we could get, honestly? Like, especially on that couch. Like, I didn't even think they were going to take Magnus, and he's just so confident about it. Like, I'm baffled right now. Like, I mean, people keep making threads about Winter, but we've got our giant white Winter.
Really? Really?
If I'm the chubby Merlini, and Winter is the Asian Merlini, then what does that leave Slacks as? Is like our dad or something like that?
I can imagine Slacks being a dad.
He isn't very fatherly, though.
No. I'm not saying he'd be a responsible dad, I'm just saying he could be a dad.
That child would die so fast.
Well, let's watch our game, man, because we're already underway. This is rather important. S4 getting chained up, paralyzing cask, and yep, he's gonna level up Skewer and get himself away. But he's burnt through so many consumables, didn't pick up the 100 rune, and Kuro's not giving this up. They've got another shards up in 3 seconds time, but S4 is gonna run into the lane. But he's got no shockwave to farm with. He's got Skewer, so escape mechanism, yay, but not a lot of life to work with, and it's still on cooldown.
Yeah, that was actually really well done by Liquid, just hurrying S4 at top, forcing him to get the skewer early, and this is a matchup that Magnus is going to naturally struggle against, especially with the help of the Wisp, but when you force him to get that level 1 skewer, it means that he can't go for the immediate bottle. Like, that actually has a pretty far-reaching consequence, and because he can't go for the bottle, he ferries himself a salve, and Fada just gets the better end of this deal in mid lane. And Fada has just been so consistent this entire day. I feel like he's one of the reasons why Liquid's winning, and for him to get this kind of advantage is huge.
I'm wondering too now, so Fada's going to have himself a great time as the Razor and Mid, as you were saying. But what's the point of this Magnus pickup? Is it really just so you have that Empower buff up so you can take care of the PL illusions to buff up the Doom? Is that the plan here?
I don't think that was necessarily the plan, but I think it just more has to deal with the fact that A, it's S4's hero, and B, it's really important that they have some sort of control factor, because when you pick a hero like Doom, Toby, you're kind of like, the offlane is usually going to be the role that has that control factor, like that starts the fights. But when you take a hero like Doom, you can't do that anymore. You can't really just pick that one-ish type position mid anymore. You have to alternate and go for something.
Wow, they're
a little
actually
bit
a
more
cracker bottom lane. Admiral Bulldog dropping low. That malediction was very early, and he should pop from this Matumberman, just ensuring it by actually doppelgangering himself forward to get that last hit into the Doombringer. And that gives Liquid first blood. A very simple initiation by Jirax.
Yeah, the laning phase has just been so strong overall from Liquid from all the games that I've seen them so far, and it just feels like their supports, especially Jirax, has been playing on top of his game.
Yeah, it's such a simple thing to do for a Witch Doctor as well, because it's kind of the big downside about your offlane. Like, how is Doombringer meant to really escape? Like, you got Scorched Earth, but the regeneration is going to be nowhere near enough to deal with the damage which was initially done with the malediction and then everything that came after it.
I think that when you're playing this dual lane, it means that this safe lane has to go a lot better, but when you have a hero like Night Stalker, it's naturally going to be a little bit difficult to zone out something like a Tusk. And we're seeing that right now because the Tusk is matching the level of the Gyrocopter, and at the same time, the mid matchup is actually stunning, like how big the difference is. You don't actually see S4 often get hit this hard mid, but
he's got as many last hits as Fada has denies. Like, that's a very depressing situation, especially when Fada's not prioritizing denies.
Yeah, and probably more importantly than that, it just goes back to them being able to pressure him out of that top rune. Usually you just see Liquid will go for that bottom rune because that's where the supports are going to go, but they correctly recognize that they're going to go with the fight early. The Lich isn't going to come because he's going to sacrifice. At worst, you take a 4v5 fight, even against a Gyrocopter. And now that he has that advantage, I mean, he's just absolutely run with it. And Magnus is a hero, Toby, that usually loses his lane, but no matter what, you trade farm. And that just hasn't happened here.
Yeah. And S4's going to find a way back into it. It might be his comfort hero, and I know PPD spoke a lot about that, but in previous blogs, even when he was over on the panel at ESL1, basically saying we pick up heroes, Admiral Bulldog, I think he did again. And I think he knows it too. He's just committing to try and kill off Jirax, but that's not going to work. Even Arcade is going to drop fairly low, and they actually use the Mango. They use the Mango on Matumberman, but he's not close enough to Arcade to really do anything with it, so no joy from that.
Felt like they were thinking about getting aggressive there.
Yeah, they like, you don't burn a Mango for...
I mean, that's gold right there, baby. You can't just lose it.
And Admiral Bulldog might try and punish him. But Admiral Bulldog, man, he's still... So you devour up inside the lane, but he still doesn't have an aura creep to work with.
Oh, this mid lane.
Yeah, there goes Magnus as well. Liquid, this is just such a... This is the greatest start they could have asked for. Even with Mind Nuts rotating, like, he's just hit nighttime and wants to be aggressive, but Kuro and Fada beat him to it.
This is just honestly unbelievable. Like, you're completely right. In what world does S4 have a third of the CS of another mid laner, especially playing Magnus?
It's no world apart from this world, which I still don't believe is real.
I mean, this type of start is just kind of unbelievable, and
even the bottom lane, they actually came close to killing off the Matumberman, but he's so farmed up. We're 5 minutes in. He's running quick charges because of everything that's being spammed, but he gets his bottle and can just fight again. That's after Admiral Bulldog as well as Arcade did everything they possibly could. And Jirax comes back in again, paralyzing cast. They're close enough that he can just throw this one, and then they split nicely. So Alliance not getting caught out by this. The Lich will end up surviving. The Malediction pop won't be enough to kill him. Only drops down to 80, but it's Jirax in the tree line that's having real issues. That Restoration level 1 kind of almost just flags how little damage that Alliance have. But they do still find themselves their first kill on the board.
Yeah, and even with what the creep or the kill score is, this is what Lich does to a lane. The Phantom Lancer, yeah, they were able to get the kill early, but when it comes to actual CS, they haven't had the best time.
Is there Phantom Rush? Yeah, there is. PL, he didn't even really have to attack into the Lich, he just shoulder charged him then.
Yeah, but the next 3 CS after the Magnet, or after the Razor, like the Gyrocopter's right there. The Magnus is quite far behind, but at the same time, the Doom has more than the Phantom Monster does, and I kind of like the idea behind this lane is you offensively eat one creep, defensively eat another. It makes it really difficult for the PL to fight.
My nuts. Well, this is another way to fight. They just come down to contest for that 6-minute rune. Well, the Tusker picked up the bounty rune. Magnus did get the double damage rune inside of his bottle, so that's a nice thing for S4. But where's he headed? It almost looks like he's coming in just to farm up the jungle, expecting himself to die inside the lane. Because that's definitely not a stack shockwave.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot that you can do there. I think it's just, you know, can't really lane anymore.
Bulldog's dead again.
Oh, this is getting rough.
This time it's a malediction pop, or it could just be a ball slap. So Doombringer will go down, and Arcade, at least he knows, like the Lich off lane solo, it's not a unknown thing, and maybe that's what we have to start looking at now, where Doom just takes what he's got and goes into the jungle, leaves the Lich just to hold that lane back down again. Top lane Snowball's going to be able to dodge all of the call down. And then Mind Control was trying to fight, gets the shards off, and Loader, the Paralyzing Cask will arrive. They don't have the mana for Malediction. There are 3-1 charges, and actually Jirax has to use it because Mindnuts turns around to try and fight him. The Price of Field chips into Loader, but not enough damage, down to 38, but that's not enough to die.
And what should have just been a 0-for-0, all of a sudden Alliance walk away with the kill. And that's excellent for them because they weren't going to get the kill on Mind Control. Like, that was a fantastic play by him. Mind Control completely reads that situation. Doesn't even use the snowball onto Loda. He uses it on the creeps to make sure that there's no follow-up rocket barrage damage. Unfortunately, Jerax thought that there was some turnaround potential there, but because he had used that snowball already, there was almost no chance that they were going to get the kill.
I'm surprised Jerax thought that too, considering his mana pool when he came in. It was fairly low.
Yeah, if he had Malediction, maybe you get that kill, but even then, the snowball's used. It's going to get really tough for them to do that. At the same time, Vada is still doing really well, 54 CS, even with him leaving the lane. And this isn't going to be something that really changes because he can just go back to the mid lane, harass out
the bottom room. Matumberman, they're going to silence him up. Jirax going to start with the Paralyzing Cask again. And Arcade's very low. They go for the Malediction now. All they really want to do is secure that bounty room for bottle charges, but what they get is more. Fada dropping down low, but he's one charges and he's trying to steal enough damage. Kura couldn't keep that tether on.
Oh, he gets
so
the
no restoration, and Matumberman having a bit of an unlucky doppelganger. He's locked on the hillside. And if I actually realized this, Roshan actually ended up denying up Witch Doctor. So Alliance can't really catch a break. They do still have Matumberman sitting on the hill, but Mindnuts is isolated from the rest of his team. It's Kuro as well as Mind Control together, and somehow Matumberman just sitting on the hillside throws out the lance, gets the kill on S4, and they lost the Night Stalker inside the Radiant jungle.
Lions just can't catch a break right now. That Roshan clap, you gather 3 heroes around it, that's what's going to happen. They had to be a little bit more patient because all they do is trigger the aggro on the Roshan, play around that, and then you slowly kill the Witch Doctor. But they got a little bit too over-eager. All 3 of them ran in. The Witch Doctor was low enough to get clapped. And then at the same time, S4 walks a little bit too close to that Phantom Monster, probably thinking he was lower than he was. Gets hit by the lance. That's all it takes, and Alliance definitely don't walk away the winners of that. No, luckily though, they killed the Razor. That was huge.
They did kill the Razor, but it's still a 3-for-1 because the Witch Doctor got denied. So Alliance, yeah, the Razor was obviously getting a lot of momentum behind himself, and with the net worth, they're pretty even now between the Razor and the Gyro. I know that's probably not the 2 lanes we want to be comparing, considering it's S4 who is laning up against him, and he's 2.5k to the 4k of the Razor. But at least means that this Gyrocopter has an impact during the fight, or Loader should be able to do something during this fight.
Yeah, you're pretty happy with what the Doom's been able to accomplish, though. He does have his level 7. Like, he's quite leveled. I kind of agree with you. I think he could have played a little bit more defensively in this lane and maybe even alternated lanes, but they just wanted to put as much pressure as they possibly could on this Phantom Lancer, and I sort of agree with that logic.
They don't want to let... It's the old thing. Like you give a core like a PL space, and you just don't have enough to deal with it. Especially when you have a Magnus who's under leveled, so we can't give him power over to everyone. So cleaning up the illusions will be a problem, and you know he's going to hit a good item very early on. But then again, with Tubberman, I'm not really seeing that progression arriving. Like you've got your wand, you've got your Ring of Aquila. We're 10.5 minutes in. But I'm not seeing the work up into, like, is he going to complete the drums? Is he going to go directly into the Diffusal Blade? Like, what's the goal here from the PL?
I think even with his kind of poor CS, and that's honestly just because the Doom has been in his lane kind of fighting him at all times, and same with the Lich, just denying creeps constantly. But you can kind of still build standard if you want. Going for the drums or going for like Boots of Travel Defusal is perfectly fine this game. Either option works out, just because Fada is going to be able to snowball scale really well, and I think they still need a mech on the side of Liquid, especially when you're playing against heavy burst damage like the Gyrocopter. And especially when you get doomed up, it would help so much.
The question would be who ends up building that. Like, do you want to see the Blink Dagger or Mind Control? Does Kuro get enough money as this Swiss to get it, or do you just still put it over on Fada?
I kind of like the idea actually of Mind Control having it, because he already has the Arcane Boots and he's not doing too terribly. But at the same time, I feel like if he gets it, it comes out a little bit too late. At the same time, Liquid can't afford to get over aggressive against a lineup like this. But
they're relocating up. It's up to top lane. They've already got the snowball going to work, and it's just Mindnuts who's up here. So that's quite a heavy commitment of a relocate, and they're already TPing players back down again, because the relocate's over on the dire side of the river, and that's why S4, while it's a simple tether him away, Lotus can let the cooldown go, but Kuro into the trees, and he'll dodge the second rocket, while the rest of Alliance now being initiated on. Fada moving to the front lines, Mind Control, too much damage, he tries to go for the punch, but can't get there in time, and now with the lockdown, both Doom and RP being used, but it's Matumberman diving in back behind the tower. It's still a 3-for-2 trade-off, Alliance were behind, they're looking for more, and they are going to find that 3-for-3. Fada dying behind the tower, giving Admiral Bulldog a double kill. G-Rex and Matumberman trying to get a little bit better of a result out of this one, but they're not going to find it unless Mindnuts overcommits, and Mindnuts will be backing up right now. 3-for-3 trade-off, good for Alliance.
The damage and the regen from that Scorched Earth are actually absurd. Like, Fada thought, okay, maybe there's some turnaround potential after this Doom ends. It's been ticking for a while, it's about to end, but the Doom just stays on him at all times. I think Cap talks about this too. 48 damage a second. That is unbelievable, and it lasts for 16 seconds. You're not going to die. You can pretty much tower dive non-stop, and there's nothing that's going to deter Bulldog from that chase. At the same time, as a result of that fight, you know, he was 1-3 before, now he's 3-3. He kills the Razor, he gets the solo experience for that. This is a really farm Doom. Like, if we take a look at the net worth,
his net worth of the PL.
Exactly.
Like neck and neck, and actually, and both of these heroes are in front of the Razor too, who was the crushing lane. So maybe it is what I was talking about at the very early stages. You actually transition this Doombringer into being more of a core than your Magnus is going to be, and Magnus turns up being basically a blink to RP with an Empower buff up behind the lines.
I think that's always how Alliance kind of run S4, is that he's never meant to be the true carry, or a lot of times people put their mid hero as kind of the core, but with Alliance...
he's mid, but he's like third position.
Yeah, exactly. Like, him and Bulldog almost always swap in that regard, because it's, the 1 through 5 positions don't actually denote like the roles, it's more farm priority. So in this case, Bulldog is more of the 2 position. It's actually S4 that usually plays a 3. Because you're just going to naturally give Bulldog so much more farm.
Well, we'll see if he can keep that momentum up for now. Interested to see where he's going with this build. He's just got the casual Sage's Mask currently over on the Doombringer. Because I was wondering if he'd be going into something more like a Blink Dagger. The Sage's Mask might just be so he has enough mana, like mana regeneration, he can keep using his abilities. So it's just a casual one for now.
Yeah, and you actually see Fada decide to go for the S and Y this game. Like, he has the Blade of Alacrity. I kind of like this decision, but I would still kind of like to see a mech on them, so hopefully Mind Control picks it up. Or if your Wisp gets like an insane amount of farm, he can take it. I guess you have a lot of healing already with the Witch Doctor. He's got 1 point in the Voodoo Restoration, and you've got the Wisp, but as we saw, when both those supports go down and the Doom's running out at you, you want a way to reset the fights.
A good jump away by Matumberman. The RP though, that's the blink from S4 going to go to work, but Matumberman's still very, very strong. In comes the Snowball, actually dodging the Lich Ulti for a little bit of bounce back up again, killing off Matumberman, but the paralyzing cast with the Malediction. The cooldown might buy a little bit of space with Kuro dropping so low. Lotus able to finish the job. S4 comes back in for another shockwave. The defense will be there. Jirax's Death Ward forcing Alliance back to their side of the river, and they're looking for the denial over, and Fada the shockwave off target, and Fada, I think he just called out saying, "Yo guys, I can live through this." Bottle charges up and 1 charges back in again too.
Oh, S4's got to be careful.
Yep.
He might actually know about this invis room, but he might assume that Fada actually went back.
They're snowballing him. Didn't bring Fada with him, but it doesn't matter. He's still in range for the plasma field.
So well set up.
And Night Stalker actually comes into this fight too.
Just trying to deny that mid tower, I think.
Vada's not wanting to let him have it, but he has no choice.
Look at Vada's HP. He had like 10 health before. Yeah, casually full HP once the wish shows up.
If it was actually moving back, yeah, they could have switched the bottles over as well and regen that up.
Yeah, what a huge fight though from Liquid.
Yeah, that's a big momentum gainer too. The graph is starting to arc up as we go to 3k for the gold and approaching 3k for the experience as well. And Admiral Bulldog, that Aegis Mask wasn't just a casual one, it was actually a full Vladimir's offering, so Alliance trying to boost up their auras during the fights.
Yeah, this is a build that I talked to Loda about actually a while ago. He's like, one of my friends suggested this to me and he said it completely owned. So we tried it and the Vlad's actually does a lot for you because it pumps up the rest of your cores, it gives you cheap armor, and at the same time it gives you mana regen. But at bottom, Alliance try to want to set up, but...
The RP's still on cooldown for 10 more seconds. That's why that wasn't really going to work at the start.
That felt a little bit too over-eager from Alliance.
It's kind of funny that we do see the Vlads on the Doom. Like, it makes sense in the third position. Do you remember, it would have been probably 2.5 years ago now, when we used to have those, like, the safe lane Doombringers, and you went for the early Vlads on Dire side so you can get Roshan nice and early on. That's what this kind of reminded me of. So you can take this fight, and then take the tier 1 tower and push into Roshan because you've got that lifesteal aura kicking in. Right now it is a double kill coming the way of Alliance, and Mind Control's really trapped in behind this tower. He wants to snowball and keep this run going, and that's the reason why there's a haste rune up his sleeve. He doesn't drag, actually he does drag up a fair chunk of the creep wave with himself. And this will force Admiral Bulldog to tank out, and it was a trade-off at the same time. And Tubberman pushed the top lane, and he's taken out that tier 1.
Yeah, and he's getting a lot of farm out of this. He does decide to go for that Boots of Travel Diffusal build that I was talking about, and this is because he realizes I've got to be as greedy as possible. I'm not really going to participate in fights when they've got a Lich, Gyro, Magnus. Like, you're not needing to take fights early, and so...
He might feel more comfortable if he can get like a Liquid Sphere or something that stops like the Doom from hitting him or something else. It's... Then again, actually, is that even the way to go?
I don't think so. I think you just build pure damage and hope for the fights to go well, but 17 to 10, at one point it was like 17-6, but Alliance, I mean, this just feels like a revitalized Alliance League. It feels like they have a game plan at all phases of the game, even with the kill score kind of being a pretty dismal at one point. They kept up. They were like, okay, this draft is not meant to keep up at that phase. Like, the Razor's going to do well against the Magnus. Let's just keep our farm up, keep our priorities in check. Like, if Magnus gets a big RP, we can still dominate fights.
Well, for all Alliance fans out there, they could be very happy to hear you say that, considering how long it's been since Alliance fans have had something to celebrate.
There should be like a site, you know, like when did EG last throw? It should be like,
when did Alliance last give hope?
Yeah, it's like isallianceback.com.
Just the only answer you get is either a 1 or a 2.
It's like yes or no, and right now it's yes. It's definitely yes.
They look good, even though their early laning phase was absolutely terrible with the Magnus. Now Admiral Bulldog, he just goes ham, turns on that Scorched Earth, and Durex can't do anything against this. He's doomed up. He's practically out of this fight. If he takes any more damage, then he'll end up dying. And in fact, the Wild Wings, he traps him into the tree lines, and they move down now to the bottom lane, and that's where the jump comes. S4 tries to move into position for the double RP, couldn't get it, but he still ensures the kill over on Kuro. With a follow-up call down, Vada cannot run away. Both Frost blasted, as well as being called down. There's just no escape from this. But Tubberman will finally arrive, but Mindnuts loves this. They're fighting during nighttime, and especially during darkness, so they're just chasing after Tubberman, keeping these urn charges rolling in. Find the real PL. Won't matter anymore. Mindnuts has actually run out of mana, so they'll back it up. But yep, Alliance find another opening, and Admiral Bulldog is now the #1 net worth on the field.
Yeah, and you saw how difficult it was to kill him. Once he pops that Scorched Earth at top, it's really difficult to bring him down. At that point, you're going to just need a lot of levels on the Malediction, but because of the Doom ability itself, he's actually been forced to go for that Voodoo Restoration.
Yep. And
more importantly, if you look at Liquid's lineup, they don't have burst damage. How do you actually kill the Doom before he gets Scorched Earth or Doom off?
They don't have anything.
Exactly.
Like anything which does pose a threat, he just jumps in and dooms them. So Witch Doctor, well, Malediction would be a threat, or Death would be a threat. You just doom him.
Exactly.
Take him out of the fight. In fact, the Paralyzing Cask is more of a problem for Alliance, so it makes sense every time for Admiral Bulldog to focus that. I'm interested to see where he goes, though. Like, he's got 2.8k gold stacked up now. they're giving him the Empower buff up with the Aquaphora, so the damage increase is nice. Do you just go for the walking tank?
You can, but going for a Blink Dagger or an Aghanims is still really useful. Being able to just lock down one hero throughout the fight and take a 4v5. But I'm more interested in seeing what Liquid have as a response rather than what Alliance have, because I feel Alliance have a lot of different ways to win this game, but for Liquid, for me it just firmly comes down to how much farm Matumba Man can get, because if this Phantom Lancer gets out of control, then Alliance are going to struggle to deal with it because of just how much they've given to their Doom. And the Gyrocopter's actually been the hero. Like, Loda's been less of a pure one position ever since Bulldog came back into the team.
Yep.
And he more plays like the facilitator role, where he'll come to the fights early, so you won't see him have that crazy GPM, but at the same time he'll participate in fights. And so it seems like Liquid have to take advantage of that, allow Matumba Man to get as much farm as he can, allow him to be the true one position carry, and then when the time comes, you just kind of confuse the Doom. You just create a lot of illusions, they're all incredibly tanky, and then you win the fight as a result of that.
It looks like Alliance are prepping for another fight. I kind of want to come back to your point in just a moment, but it's okay. It looks like they're not going to fight anyway. But it's nice to actually look at it that way for Alliance, where they distribute the farm a lot more evenly. Like you talk about Admiral Bulldog getting so much more farm, and it not just being on Loader, and then S4 playing this utility initiation role as well, allowing them Bulldog to have more of a like action in the fights, but. With that, it makes it so if Alliance do make a mistake with one hero, it's a lot easier to recover from.
Oh yeah, I think that's actually the way that I look at it too when I watch this. Like, I always think to myself, okay, S4, he has a terrible time, but what does it matter, because we've got somebody that can come back. Like, we've got the offlaner, or we've got our carry.
It's not just a plan B, there's a plan C as well for Alliance.
Exactly. They're kind of unique in that regard, because almost all teams put like their true 1 or 2 position in that mid lane. Like we saw 4CNL do it today, but Alliance is definitely the exception here.
Midas is in a little bit of trouble. This shows the weakness, however, of the Night Stalker. The fact that he just can't see this coming. Once you get the Aghanim Scepter, is to get another one of these utility supports for Alliance. To have that vision so you know when you're going to get jumped in. Maybe you can back away from the snowball in time.
This is actually a really farm Night Stalker as a support. Like, he's got a Hand of Midas and that point booster, so the Aghanim Scepter is pretty much inevitable at this point. But I mean, enough talk about Alliance. You know, we've allianced them.
Yeah,
we've allianced its back. But I mean, Matumba Man is still getting a fair amount of farm. Like, he's actually got quite a bit. The Razor is still incredibly tanky.
You're still waiting on that mech too, but it looks like Tuskar is very close to completing it, so it does come in for mind control.
Yeah, this is what you kind of assume when he has the Arcane Boots especially, and if the Razor entirely skips it, but you kind of have to get it at some point.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just altogether say, we're not going to build one.
Yeah, doesn't make a lot of sense, because you really want to have that quick burst heal and presence during the team fight. And they're getting to that point too where Liquid are starting to think about how they actually get up into the tier 3 towers. The tier 2 towers you can just group up as 5 or group up as 4, I should say, and then let Matumba Man do the rest of the work.
This game is so close right now. The net worth difference is actually 0, pretty much.
Practically.
And S4, you know, he's had a rough game, but he doesn't really have to have the best game. Like, he's got his Blink Dagger. All that really matters at this point is the positioning game. For Team Liquid, what they really have, their kind of keys to victory is try not to get multiple hero RP'd. Always pay attention to where he is at the same time. But when you're playing against a Doom, you have to be careful, because you kind of want to be grouped up. Like, it's strength in numbers. You don't want the Doom to just isolate out a hero, doom him, and then chase after him.
Yeah.
Because that hero's dead at that point. So Liquid has to kind of do this balancing act where you want to protect your heroes against the Doom, but at the same time, don't give S4 any openings to get those multiple hero RPs off.
I'm wondering too, then, if you close up the openings, like, it's got to come from a gem. Like, there's a lot of sentry wars being committed by Liquid right now, but you still have that observer ward up for Alliance.
Oh yeah, you're completely right, because it's going to be the vision game from Liquid. Like, you can't just completely play blind.
Wait, Alliance? They're slipping in for Roche by the looks of it. Either that, or they think they're ganking up bottom lane on my control. But
I think they're going to go for the Roshan. They've got a medallion on... I thought they had a medallion.
You've got Vlad's.
Wait, who has a medallion in the game then? Am I going insane?
You are medallion
it's
on
mind control. That's who I saw.
But yeah, no one in Alliance has that. but they're picking out. Like, everyone's gone missing, so but some of them were sending over a couple of illusions. They're not close enough to it, and Roshan down to 2.3k. S4 still waiting if they initiate in. The Shans will fly, but it doesn't stop the heroes from attacking from Alliance, and no, Die will take it. S4 still waiting for it, and now in he comes with a double RP into the 3-man column. Admiral Bulldog is cleaving apart Team Liquid. They're chasing after Matomaman. They know which one's the real one. S4 body blocking him. Kuro will save his core by taking him back to base. But Alliance take out Roshan. They keep the Aegis of the Immortal. And what a huge fight. They'll be able to pick up the Wisp as well. There's nothing for him to tether to. This is a very dead Kuro.
I mean, the damage has just been completely done. Alliance walk away with 4 kills. The Aegis survives on the core. And that is just such a dominant fight from start to finish. They're going to take this mid tower as a result too, and whatever momentum Liquid once had is completely gone. Because again, that's all Alliance have to do. They get the 1 or 2 hero RP. S4 has already done his job. Who cares about your net worth at that point? You've got a Doom and a Gyrocopter that have to follow up. That call down must have hit like 4 different heroes at once. The skewer as well by S4, just perfectly played. Luckily for Liquid
too, like you were talking about, like his positioning game, you set yourself up for it. He knew that Liquid would come over because it was such an obvious move, but they were so quick, they did it, and he still waited for the RP. Like, he didn't even come in straight away. He waited like a good 3-4 seconds before he jumped.
I almost feel like Liquid just should have given that up because you don't have the best vision there. S4, I think, had an invis even.
There was smoked. There was smoke to go, and he never broke the smoke.
There's actually no way that you're going to take that fight at that phase. So maybe you just give that up and say to yourself, okay, yeah, we're going to give up the Roshan, but at the end of the day, you know, we have no vision in that area. We don't know where S4 is. We don't know how low any of their heroes are. Like, there could be another hero waiting on top. There's just too many factors that you can't really predict for. But I think Liquid kind of just felt, okay, we'll just take a fight, see what happens.
It's going to be difficult for them to take a fight in the future now. That Night Stalker, you said he was farmed, he just completed up the Aghanim Scepter. So now they've actually got the nighttime unobstructed vision going their way. And Liquid, like, even if you do get yourself a gem, you're going to start losing all your wards on the map.
Yeah.
And S4, this time he does have an invis rune. They're going to walk into the shards for a moment. And there is an Observer and Sentry down for Liquid, so this will reveal out both RK as well as My Nuts running up to the top lane.
And this is where you see kind of the lineup come together for Alliance. Like, at first it was a little bit hazy for me, but, you know, the Magnus relies so much on vision, and at the same time, so does Liquid, because they have to know at all times where S4 is, but when you've got this Night Stalker, he picks up a gem eventually, you get rid of all of that, and it just makes the game so much more scary for Liquid. Like, they pretty much have to play perfectly, or they have to dominantly win a fight and take back the gem at this point.
S4 trying to get cheeky. There was no reason to commit the RP unless they hung around a little bit longer. Looks like top lane though is where Liquid are going to be battling this one up because they've realized now that Magnus is on the bottom lane. They start with a Death Ward, they relocate farther in, but Loda got a very long way away here, and the Glimmer Cape into a call down. There goes your Aegis the Immortal. RK can't do much more than this though. Like, I think he understands that Loda is dead. Movement was coming over from My Nuts, but just let Loda die.
He was way too isolated out. Like, there was nobody near him. There's no tier 2, and this is a benefit of Liquid going for those early engagements and pushes. Because without that tier 2 available, Liquid are just like, okay, we don't even care if we group up at this point. Alliance have already shown themselves on the map. Luckily, they get a return kill, but an Aegis and a Gyrocopter is a really significant trade-off.
Is this when Liquid should be looking to do more damage? Like, you've just brought down the Gyrocopter, force a buyback or something like that. Like, you got a 35-second window. What do you try and do?
I think you honestly just farm, play the pace of the game. But Tumbaman is still getting pretty out of control right now, and Alliance have some answers for him, but at the same time, you don't really want a cleaving Doom and a Gyrocopter that, you know, after a Flat Cannon runs out, what does he really have to offer?
Yeah.
So Matumba Man gets 6 slotted. He plays the kite game, which he can do really well now that he's got the Mantis style, and just play the engage-disengage game. And hopefully Fada can just tank up everything. He's got his BKB completed now too. This isn't a target you necessarily want to focus down anymore. And you've got just really strong cores to work with. So what this really comes down to again is, can Alliance set up the combo? Can they really start the fight like 4v3 or something like that, and then force the PL to have to use all of his abilities defensively? Whereas if Liquid get any sort of man advantage, then from there on out, I think Alliance just gets hunted down.
Man, yeah, you bring up the dream scenario in a way for Liquid. I'm still wondering if it could be a reality.
I think so. They've definitely kept up in net worth and the heroes that they have to. Like ideally on a Witch Doctor, you want the Aghanims completed in the next 10 minutes. But your Wisp, his farm at this point is kind of irrelevant. It just really comes down to the amount that your cores have. Even Mind Control, like a Tusk is always going to be useful because Snowball can be used to disengage and re-engage, but he needs that Blink Dagger because then he could just completely take S4 out of the fight. S4 blinks in, RPs, then Mind Control immediately blinks in, snowballs everybody out of the stun.
Yeah. So you waste cooldown and you waste RP. In a way, you even buy some time around Doom.
Exactly, and I think that's kind of the way that you want to do it. I'm trying to lay out the best scenarios for both teams.
Yeah.
But for me personally, I think Alliance's way to victory is a little bit easier.
Well, their way to victory is just move his 5 players down a lane, because that's exactly what they're doing right now. They've pushed Arcade as well as Minos over to the side, but the Observer Ward of Alliance will watch any level of rotation coming in from behind them, so they know they can just make this front line and keep pushing. Now, the only thing they need to ensure this is just running up into the base, and that is going to help. So you already baited out that snowball that was meant to be the protecting, the saving grace of Team Liquid. But they're a little bit too close. The Shiva's Guard from Admiral Bulldog making it difficult for Fighter as well as Mind Control to chase this. 56 points of damage was stolen, but that's not a hell of a lot. Like, he burned through cooldown, yes, and it actually looks like Alliance are instantly backing up. They forced Liquid to return, so they get control of their lanes again.
Neither team really wanted to take that fight. S4 was maledicted up and he had pretty low HP, but at the same time Liquid doesn't really know what range he's at because they have no vision. And that's the thing is, if you're a Liquid fan, you're thinking, why didn't they chase there? They might have had an advantage, but don't ever chase blindly up hills against Magnus. Like, that's the absolute worst thing that you can do. Constantly play around the vision fights. Like, even if the Night Stalker has a gem, Curl, what he really has to do is just get whatever wards he can have up, and then from there, just place wards in the middle of fights to kind of give them as much vision as they can against S4. But regardless, this is going to be a really difficult position to be in, because when you're 5-banding like crazy and you've got a Night Stalker with a gem, life is hell for supports.
Yeah. It's just nothing you can do when you're those kind of supports, and now life got even harder. Like, it's not just the fact that we've got unobstructed and true sight vision from the Night Stalker, but now you've got a butterfly over on the gyrocopter. This PL started building into what I can only assume is a Skadi, as opposed to something like the Lincoln Sphere up against the Doombringer. And the Assault Cuirass build's coming in for the Razor. So they got no direct damage into the gyro. It may not seem like much, but now they've actually got real problems killing off the gyrocopter at the start of the fights, while the Doombringer is already posing a very large problem in just himself.
Yeah, and like you said, you actually read the situation perfectly. He decides to go for that walking tower build where he's got the Yeshiva's Guard, the BKB. He's going to be a pretty immovable structure.
How difficult is it as well for like Razor to keep that static link up? Like, you want to steal all that damage and get it in, but you just can't.
Yeah, this is a really quick Doom. At the same time, this is a Doom that's, like, when you go for this build, you're always going to get the Doom off. Like, it's just the reality of it. He's too tanky not to get it off on somebody. What Liquid want to do is just kind of force that engage, disengage, engage, disengage until S4 doesn't use an ideal RP, and then from there, the Doom hopefully doesn't use a really good Doom where it just isolates out a hero and forces it into a 4v5 fight. But Liquid have to be so careful, because there are a lot of different ways where they just straight up lose this game.
Yeah. One of the ways they were losing it previously was that big fight around Roshan. This time they do have an Observer Ward down, and we're looking just over a minute before Roshan's going to spawn. And, well, as all things happen when you have a Night Stalker with a gem and Academ Scepter, there's no way to keep an Obs Ward on this field. You can't even put it in, like, little tricky corners to keep it out of vision of Alliance.
No, he's always going to spot it, and this is the difficult thing about playing against a Night Stalker when you're behind, is he's always going to keep up the vision game, and Liquid pretty much just have to play blind. This is going to make that Roshan defense particularly hard, just because Alliance are going to realize, okay, we've got the vision advantage, there's no way that Liquid are going to contest around that area again.
But do you have to give it up again? Like, is Liquid really forced in this position where they gotta, like, maybe just split push everything, or do something like this, like a blink, Walrus Punch, now the Paralyzing Cask and Malediction, S4, gonna jump himself away, but I still think there's gonna be enough damage with the Paralyzing Cask bouncing forward. Actually, no, he's not gonna die to Malediction.
He is Glimmer caped up.
Yep. It popped him a couple of times, the shards can't hold RK in, so Alliance should get out of that one, like, scot-free. You still have Fighter farming up on the top lane, he could be relocated in. And this actually opens up Roshan. This is... It's not enough, like... Okay, the best case scenario, Alliance is forced back into their base. Can Liquid even do Roshan before Alliance can counter them?
No, but what Liquid can decide to do is just use the Wisp to re-engage. Well, like, a target gets doomed, he just relocates them, heals them for a bit, lets them re-engage. There's no Aghanims or anything like that that they have to worry about. And then from there, just play whatever vision game you can. Like, place down an Observer Ward at the Roshan area, and then just take a fight around there and hope that you don't get multiple hero RP'd. But I feel like that's just incredibly optimistic. Like, Liquid can't afford to have another 4-man wipe for nothing, because I feel like at that point, the game just becomes Alliance 5-mans down, and this is gonna become crunch time. Like, I really feel like Liquid just give this up.
Yeah, and they are actually looking at this too. They're sending in a couple of PL illusions just to be a nuisance, but it was actually the sigil from Mind Control. This scat out the fact that Roshan was not only up, but Alliance were trying to kill it. So, yeah, they're just going to let this thing go, push in the top lane, and they'll have to deal with Alliance having an Aegis the Immortal on the back of... Actually, you probably just give it to Loda right now, because Admiral Bulldog's not going to die.
No, he's perfectly fine, and Loda is going to be the recipient of it, and now that he has a Butterfly 2, going for the high ground is actually quite easy for him. Once he gets his BKB, then things become really difficult for Liquid, and this is the benefit of going for that Butterfly. It's just, you can go for the high ground, it makes it hard for them to engage on you. You can't really get bursted down anymore, and that's something that we talked about early on, is that you don't really have the best magic burst damage on Liquid as it is.
Yep.
And a lot of it just comes down to that physical damage, but the Butterfly takes away from that.
Maybe once that Death Ward is up for the Witch Doctor, like...
Oh, you've got a mech now completed on Minuts too. Like, this is actually such a support, or farm support Night Stalker.
I'm really just looking at Jirax, because I don't feel like PL is going to do enough while the BKBs are up, and having that Aghanim Scepter over on the Witch Doctor can do so much more, and he's only 100 gold away from it, so they should be able to have that before the next engagement against Alliance.
This is a level 2 Death Ward 2. Unfortunately for him though, there's a lot that he has to contend with. Like, you've got the Lich Frost Armor, you've got the Shivas up on Bulldog 2. So the damage is going to be mitigated, but it's still really strong. Like,
yeah.
A Death Ward, a level 2 Death Ward is still going to be a level 2 Death Ward.
We have a full Refresher Orb now up for the Doombringer.
That is okay.
And this is a Doombringer that just said, like, screw it to the Blink Dagger. He's just going to walk himself forward. So with this next fight, he's actually going to have 17 seconds worth of magic immunity because of his BKB only down to like a 9-second charge.
Yeah.
And then you've still got your double Shiva's Guard as well. I'm not going to say double drums, but Liquid's already been kited up enough, let alone having to deal with double Shivas. Oh, the double Shivas is not an insignificant thing whatsoever. Obviously, the double Doom is the most important, but at top, it looks like Minuts wants to immediately kill Kuro, and this is going to be what he goes for. Fada's going to get out, luckily, but... Kuro's actually can just TP himself out until he does that. There's that mini-stun from the ult. He does not want to see this Wisp disappear.
Not when you devote this many heroes, and this might actually prompt Alliance to just go for it. But at the same time,
there's problems on bottom.
Yeah, luckily Matamba Man isn't there though. So at this point, does Matamba Man just immediately start walking there or TP himself, and he's gonna start walking there. But I almost feel like it's gonna be a little bit too late. Like, he's gonna take this tier 2, but Alliance, I feel like, are just going to force the issue. Yeah,
but Liquid's still in a position where they can defend this. Like, the Wisp is up in 15 seconds time. That's not too bad. You still got fortification, and Alliance are waiting. Their creep wave didn't come with them. So by the time the creep wave arrives, like, Matamba can add in a lot of pressure to the mid lane. The bottom tier 3 towers are already taking damage. So this isn't the most evenest trade for Alliance. That fortification's still not being used. In fact, only, like... The tier 3 tower drops, they're burning through the range racks. Liquid are holding it, and now they're going to use it. The Paladin cast bouncing up. The shards don't lock in Alliance, however, and then your Death Ward. It pops up. That is with the Aghanim Scepter upgrade, but you're right, that damage is so minimal that Alliance take a little bit of a chip to it. But it's not enough that really makes them fear coming in again. And Loda's still got this Aegis Immortal, so they lance up Loda, slowing him down a little bit, taking away that life. The Shards block is also quite nice, but as you said, there's no way Liquid want to push themselves out into an area they have no vision, especially a high ground area, because Alliance will just win the fight hands down. Actually, maybe they won't because Mag TP back.
Yeah, they even use the Knight just to secure the vision advantage and to make sure that Liquid doesn't get a little bit sneaky and say, okay, we'll go for a smoke and try to chase after them.
Yeah.
Or some sort of relocate play. Like, you just play the vision game over and over again. Like, you have a ward inside their base right now that Liquid's... like, their sentry actually just misses. Like, this is so unfortunate. And
they got an
this is such a big pickoff.
Yep, this is a huge one, but Minus a little bit too far away. He tried to keep his distance away from Fada, so he didn't actually just spoil the attack. So at that point, you kind of wish the Gyro had like a Monkey King bar and found mini stun after mini stun.
Yeah, unfortunately for them, S4 wasn't nearby. I actually thought he was for a second, and I got a little bit too excited. So my bad. Did not mean overhype. I just thought that was going to be like game over. But the Razor does have a buyback, so even in that worst case scenario, he would have been perfectly fine. Fada knows that at this phase of the game, it's not really about his item builds. It's just about recycling HP and his lives. The Phantom Lancer is in a similar situation, and Liquid are just kind of holding the pace of the game right now in their hands and saying, okay, if you're not going to go with a 5-man, we'll just constantly go for the split push and make this game so difficult for you guys.
And they really have. Like, yeah, you've done damage to the range racks on top, but as far as map control goes, Liquid is still looking really good, and when you lock in Admiral Bulldog into this kind of position, like, he's trying to break free of these PL illusions, and he's unable to do so.
That's 3 minutes left on the Aegis too. Alliance kind of have to decide, well, we either go in the next 3 minutes or we just wait for the next Roshan again. But at that phase...
you might 3 minutes on the next Aegis.
Exactly, and at that phase too, Matumba Man just continues to snowball. Like, this is a hero that's getting pretty out of control right now.
Well, this will help. Mind control, mech charge, that Solar Crest is helping him, and he's going to snowball. There's no more support for him now, however. He's going to go in deeper. Just waits a little bit of time, but he will end up dying in the bottom lane. No buyback for a minute, but top lane's pushing it again. So they have to come back to defend. You've already got S4 back here trying to hold that line. But Matubbaman's focusing in two different lanes. Sends the Manta-style illusions into the mid. S4 is just going to skewer them out. And then the top lane pushes in, so Alliance, they can't capitalize on the space they create with a kill.
It's just that the illusions are too strong now for any one hero to deal with. Like, if Matumba Man had slightly less net worth than this, then maybe S4 can just hold it by shockwaving, or maybe they can just send the Doom into Shivas and clear it out with Scorched Earth, but because this Phantom Lancer is so strong, they don't really have the best way to deal with them, and now the game gets so tricky for Alliance because now Liquid are just forcing them to play reactively. Like, this is the type of scenario you want to be in as a split pushing team. Like, every single move that you make, you force Alliance to respond to at all times.
Yep. This is definitely not what Alliance want. And still at the same time, it's props to Team Liquid that they haven't got caught out as much as you'd think they would. When you got a team running with no vision. Like, you remember the kind of warding that used to happen when we had the split pushing Tinkers and Nature's Prophets. Like, you looked everywhere. You got Clockwork so you can get rocket vision and everything else. But Team Liquid, they've got like 1 or 2 heroes picked off here or there. But they keep all the lanes split pushed out. The PL is obviously a very difficult target to kill. But Alliance just can't find the catch. So they're trying to do this the old-fashioned way. Walk in, they find Kuro. There's the silence, no reason to skewer, but he did it as a point blank anyway.
2 seconds ago, Fada was there too. If they could have killed him, he doesn't have buyback available, maybe they can go for it. But Alliance right now are just trying to force Liquid, you know, they're just kind of like raising their fists and saying like, come at us. We really want to take a fight, but Liquid's like, no thanks. Don't want to fight against no vision RP.
And they're not forced to do so. Like, even if Alliance do get up to your base, you already said it, like, the PL illusions are really, really difficult to kill, and we've got 5.3k gold sitting on Matumbaman. He's going to spend even more, and if this does turn into being something like a butterfly, then that Monkey King bar, which has been built up by Loader, needs to be completed very early on. Looks like Fada, very defensive BKB TP out. Make sure he doesn't get picked off. Actually, then, maybe it's not the best choice to go for the butterfly over on the PL. Is it worth getting something more like a heart and you just become, like, the unkillable tank? Or do you then worry you're not going to do enough damage?
I kind of like the idea of having a little bit more DPS in this. Like, I feel like he's not really going to get into many straight-on engagements anyways. He's probably just going to come in when Alliance have become frustrated and go for the push.
Well, does he then go for direct DPS? Like, does he go the Monkey King bar himself?
No, I think he goes for the butter.
Yeah. I see the Eagle song being picked up on him, so yeah.
Solar Crest completed on Ake. This is going to help the high ground pushes even more, and this is Aegis number 3, I believe.
Yep.
This will come with the cheese, and this might be Alliance's go time, where they say, all right, We can't continue to hold the pace of this game. This Phantom Lancer, the scariest thing is that the Phantom Lancer still has room to grow. Like, even with the Butterfly, he would still have one full item after that to replace the Aquila.
Yep.
And Alliance might just think to themselves, this is probably one of the better opportunities that we're going to get.
Yeah. Even once you replace that, you still got extended options, second level BTs, moon shards available. So the money doesn't go to waste, but he still becomes such a huge problem, and that problem is knocking on the top door. With the rest of Liquid, Fada is here as well. Now he has his Monkey King bar, so he can attack directly into that gyrocopter. But S4 is going to be the man on the defense.
Yeah, and again, you just hem and you haw off your Liquid. You're not really trying to pose a threat, you're just trying to waste time. Build up enough of a lead where your Phantom Lancer can pretty much just 1v5.
I love this from My Nuts. Pushes out, chases up to Jirax. Now, Kuro's in the neighborhood, so he can relocate Jirax out if he needs to. And that's in fact what he's going to do, but he gets cancelled. There's no relocate out. Jirax will have his TP cancelled. Kuro will be successful at escaping. But they'll end up losing the Witch Doctor. They could have lost a little bit more than that.
Yeah, but at the same time, again, Matumba Man, he doesn't even care about one of his supports dying.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, that's just more vision for me. I had no wards up anyways. Now I know that you guys are at top. I'll send myself at bottom. Then you go deal with me at bottom, and then I'll send myself at mid.
He really can just go everywhere. But what are Alliance meant to do? Like, they don't have a Storm, they don't have a Clockwork, they don't have, like, these jump-around heroes on the side lanes. They can prep a trap with a Doombringer, but even then he's got to walk himself into the fight with no Blink Dagger.
He's got Boots of Travel, though. I think the play is just to send Bulldog to defend as much as he possibly can. Hopefully he doesn't get picked off, and then Boots of Travel him in. And Alliance are just going to force the issue now, and this is go time for Liquid. They either have to decide.
My Nuts is beating down the range Rags. Now the melee will go as well.
They're just going to go mid now, too, I think.
They have fortification, and, well, here's the TPs. They're coming in. The full butterfly just got completed by Matumba, so he wants to try and fight this one. Mind Control jumping in, sending S4 up. They push him away. It's the BKB will trigger from Loader as well as S4. The Fada getting some really good seal on the damage. Up to 70. S4 so low. The Razor will end the spree with that Lightning Storm doing its work. Loader wants to come back over. Kuro making sure the Fada is able to survive through this one. Admiral Bulldog. There goes your refresher off. Level death down Jirax. But it's Matumba who just keeps fighting and taking away all this mana. So they cannot be a second Doom just because Admiral Bulldog has nothing to give. Loader is so low with that Rocket Barrage, still with the Aegis Immortal up his sleeve. But he's retreating out. There's no cooldown for the moment, but Liquid, they're coming out a very long way here to try and fight. The mini stuns actually helping. They'll get the kill over Granake, and Alliance will disengage, but they took the full top racks.
Yeah, they get the racks, but at the same time, you just proved how strong Liquid are. Like, Fada pretty much walks away from the Doom unscathed. Your Phantom Lancer just completely created a chaotic team fight, and you just proved the power of the Phantom Lancer. Like, Bulldog immediately gets all of his mana drained out. He doesn't have enough to get the double Doom, and more importantly, he just doesn't really have a target. Like, he can't really afford to get the wrong Phantom Lancer, but at the same time, you kind of have to use it on somebody. Like, this is a really fat Doom. Like, he even has eaten moon shards. But it doesn't even really matter because the Phantom Lancer is so big that he can kind of just ignore him, go for everybody else, send the illusions on him, burn the mana, and just constantly engage, re-engage, engage, re-engage.
I'm wondering if we should look at Admiral Bulldog selling the drums and picking up the Blink Dagger. So he's actually the one to initiate. You catch out one hero when you know it's just one when you get the mana, so then you can go for your Refresh Orb and go for a second Doom as well. Because it seems like if you have these extended long fights, like you play Tower Doom, like beat Raid Boss kind of guy, he'll never get that second Doom off. So what's the Refresh Orb really for? A second BKB?
Yeah, you saw that S4 had to be the first one in, immediately died. Like, he actually just got... The Gyrocopter got some damage stolen, and then all of a sudden, Alliance just lost S4 in like 3 hits. You have to be careful for that happening, because he's one of the ways that you crowd control the fights around. And for him to be able to survive would be huge for Alliance. They still have the Aegis. I don't think it's going to be available for very long.
Loader's going to get home. Okay. I thought for a moment Matumba would try and go down solo on him, even if he does have the Aegis Immortal. With no TP scroll, he could keep Alliance distracted, while the rest of Liquid push it through top, and that's what they do. Walrus punch into Admiral Bulldog, paralyzing cast, Death Ward follow-up. Admiral Bulldog will get the BKB off, but He dooms up Fada, and that's going to be a waste of a doom, and it's actually, yeah, Matumbaman going after Loader. Fada just rotates himself down, and Loader's going to die so quickly. There goes Juragus Immortal. The Lich ulti is doing some serious lifting here as Fada so low. Kuro wants to keep him alive. S4 looking for the perfect RP. He brings down Kuro, but the paralyzing cast. T-Rex has caused such havoc here for Alliance. They have to do a double buyback. They do it on the doom, and that's exactly where Matumbaman tries to focus now. Where is your control? Admiral Bulldog can't get back in again. The shards are keeping him outside the base. The Glimmer Cape from Arcade will buy him that space required, but there's just so much Matumba running through the mid. They're going to go after Loader as well, and this is a huge disaster for Alliance. They have the buyback in the gyro. He'll end up using it, but he'll practically be the sole survivor. My Nuts has basically left the base, and they're going for the GG push after tier 4 towers. And I think Alliance, they're going to have to admit this. They are fighting 5v2 with no real power left in their lineup.
Yeah, and this is just the strength of the Phantom Lancer, because again, Liquid just decided to say, okay, we're never really going to force the fight. We're just going to wait until our Phantom Lancer gets so huge, you get frustrated, you're not taking enough racks, and I think Liquid for a second thought they were going to back, but might have just realized, okay, nobody from Alliance bought back. Yeah, like, they're not just going to give up all their tier 4s for nothing. If they had buyback, they would have used it by now, and I think they realized that.
Dead. Came in with a call down, so much damage stolen. He'll actually be given the cheese, but that will not be enough to live. They burn through him twice over. Minus trying to run himself away, but there's just no running here. GG is the call. Team Liquid will take game 1 here in the 2-game series against Alliance. And, well, it looked like Alliance were in a really good position in that mid game, but then it all just fell apart, or I should say it all came together for Team Liquid.
Yeah, Team Liquid eventually realized, yo, we can't take these fights. These fights are so hard. We have no vision, but you know what we can do? We can just kind of play the Alliance game.
Yeah,
never really fight.
You play the split. That's it.
You kind of frustrate Liquid, make them chase you at all, or frustrate Alliance, make them chase you at all times, make them constantly have to react to your own play, and then from